Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming today. Welcome. Welcome to campus. I've been at Holy Names 2.5 years, and this is my first donor scholarship luncheon. And I have to say, I think it's extremely fitting that this is our first in-person donor event on campus. And not only is it in person, it's hybrid, in keeping with the pandemic and what we've all learned over the last 2 years. So hello to those folks who are on Zoom. We've got a group of folks who are on Zoom, a group of students. Laura Linden is hosting that group, and they can hear us and see us, I believe. Right, Yi-Ching? Yep, they can see us too. So welcome to everybody on Zoom. Thank you all for coming. I am Mary Boyven McGee. I'm the Vice President for Institutional Advancement at Holy Names. Today, we're here to celebrate all the people in this room, to say thank you to our alumni, to our friends, to members of the President's Circle, to members of the Marie Rose Durocher Legacy Society, for your gifts in support of our students that help us all be here today and continue on our mission. The first portion of our program today is going to be to recognize a very dear friend of Holy Names who passed away this last year. Many of you knew him. He was Cornell Meyer, who was a longtime donor. He supported scholarships to a great degree at Holy Names. He was a businessman in the Oakland community, and he was a big supporter of business in Oakland. I only met him once, so I didn't get to know him well, but the one thing I knew about Cornell is he loved chocolate. And so in his honor, we found a local business in Oakland, a chocolatier, and at your plates are some chocolates in memory of Cornell in his honor. So enjoy those. So I want to at this time invite Sister Carol Selman to the podium to lead our tribute of Cornell.
Thank you, Mary. Good afternoon, everyone. Even though it's Mary's first in-person scholarship luncheon, this is my 13th. So I welcome you to our 13th annual scholarship luncheon. We've missed very much having you with us for the last 2 years, and we're so glad to have you back. It's my privilege and pleasure to open this session with this tribute to our dear friend Cornell, who I knew for 33 years, and I considered him to be one of the most remarkable men I have ever met in my life. I first met Cornell in 1988 when I was named to the enrollment department at then Holy Names College. The Association of Independent Colleges and Universities was meeting in Sacramento, and we were invited to bring some members of our institution's board of directors to help influence the state legislature on behalf of private institutions. Cornell, who I did not know well at the time, accompanied me on that trip, and that was the first time I realized what an important and influential person he really was. As we sat in the Jesse Unruh room in the State Senate building, and those of you who are old enough probably remember Jesse Unruh, Cornell mentioned to me that he had testified many times in that room. Well, that surprised me. Then, all these members of the Senate and Legislature Assembly passed by us and greeted him by name. I was totally shocked and thought to myself, who is this man? Today, I'd like to share with you who I think this man really is. Cornell was one of the humblest men I have ever met. The story that I just shared is one example of that. Many people know that he was offered a seat on the board of directors at Oakland's Children's Hospital after his retirement from Kaiser. He turned it down, choosing instead to hold and comfort medically fragile babies in its neonatal unit 2 days a week. something he did for about 25 years. He has been quoted as saying, "I just thought I wanted to volunteer and be where the action is, and I wanted to be with the children. When you're holding a baby and the baby is touching your cheek, it's as close to heaven as you can get. To me, they are miracles," end quote. As a child, Cornell, a Protestant, met a woman religious, a sister, first when his mother was hospitalized. He spoke about coming out of his mother's hospital room and seeing this vision of white walking down the hall toward him. Now you have to remember, in those days, sisters wore long habits. That experience of awe and care that his mother received from the sisters gave him a long-lasting respect and admiration for the work that sisters do. Because of this, he generously supported the work of the Sisters of the Holy Names at the university, at our high school, and at the province level. It was a sign to me that his generosity surpassed his religious traditions. The only thing we ever really disagreed about was that he thought it would be better if we were back in the old habits. Ironically, when the university conferred an honorary degree upon him in 2002, he was then required to don a habit of his own. As I mentioned earlier, Cornell was also one of the most generous people I've ever met. I personally worked with him at both Holy Names University and Holy Names High School. As I said, he wasn't Catholic, but he encouraged lasting relationships between the Catholic high schools in Oakland and HNU by creating the Cornell Meyer Catholic High School Scholarship. I also knew that if I approached him and said that there was one more student who needed a scholarship, even if the student was from a Catholic high school outside of Oakland, he would always say, "Sure, sister." Likewise, he created a scholarship for students from Northern Light School to attend Holy Names High School. The one thing I admired about Cornell, although I'm not sure his friends did, was his ability to cajole his peers to support his Holy Names projects financially. Whether at an advancement committee meeting for the university or a crab feed for Holy Names High School, his friends always responded positively when Cornell challenged them financially to support their projects, and they all loved him for it. These are but a few of my fond memories of Cornell. Sister Cynthia Canning will now share some of her reflections. Thank you.
What an honor to be asked to say a few words on behalf of Cornell Meyer, a truly extraordinary man and friend of this university. I first met Cornell when he joined the Board of Trustees in 1988, a role he held for 10 amazingly generous and effective years of service and leadership, including serving on multiple committees, most notably advancement and enrollment. They were very dear to his heart because he knew how important they both were. He never missed a meeting, was never late, always offered ideas, and enjoyed challenging the rest of us. And he liked meetings to begin and end on time. He contributed to any and all fundraising activities here, including the capital campaign to build this lovely Valley Center where we are today. Sister Carol has mentioned Cornell's devotion to the sisters and our mission and our commitment to the full development of the human person. As Sister Carol said, he was not Catholic. He was actually raised as a Methodist in South Dakota, and then later became a member of the Allen Temple Baptist Church in East Oakland. Every now and again at an HNU board meeting, he would say something like, What's a nice Protestant boy like me doing in a place like this? He loved doing that. He also loved the very special comradeship he had with 3 other trustees who shared his belief in HNU and our mission. Jim Kelly, whom some of you knew. Jim Vose, whose words for today Sister Carol will be sharing in a few minutes. And Neil McDaniel, whose daughter Joanne is here today virtually. Joanne and her husband Terry are now scholarship donors here at HNU. Sister Carol also mentioned Cornell's humility, something he learned and embraced over a very long lifetime. At the time of his death, Cornell was a legend. You might say he was at the top. Chairman and CEO of Kaiser Aluminum, member of myriad boards and commissions, and a leader revered for his social consciousness and his philanthropy in Oakland and the wider Bay Area and beyond. Cornell certainly did rise to the top in his professional life and other aspects of his life, but he didn't begin at the top. Born and raised by a single mother in rural South Dakota, he knew poverty and deprivation, including the absence of his father. At Kaiser, he started at the bottom, worked his way up through the ranks, bit by bit, proving his skills and talents. He once said, "In those days, I envied the male boys." What was so notable about Cornell was that when he reached the top of his professional life, he never forgot about those at the bottom. He remembered them and advocated for them throughout his life, through his philanthropy and his socially conscious leadership. Oakland changed when he and Jim Vose and a couple of other corporate leaders were in office, and it has never been the same, really, I think. They were stunning. And Cornell invested in others' dreams. He invested in scholarships for more students than we can count, here at HNU, at Holy Names High School, Northern Lights School, Next Step Learning Center, and beyond. Students who are here today, Cornell Meyer loved you and your fellow sister students, and he believed in you and your dreams. Excuse me, I just lost my place. What I wanted to say was that the picture that Sister Carol showed was from the latest HNU Today, and it shows Cornell surrounded by 6 students. Notice how they are all just beaming. He was never so happy as when he was with the students that he was helping to live out their dreams and to fulfill their lives. I know personally about the way Cornell believed in and invested in others' dreams. In 1993, 3 of us sisters, Sister Margaret Kennedy, Sister Rosemary Delaney, who's here over in the corner there, and I, had a dream of starting a learning center in the Oakland Flatlands. We wanted to serve the educational needs of older youth and adults in Oakland who had not been well served and who, for myriad reasons, had not finished high school. So because of our service together on the HNU board and my awareness of Cornell's wisdom, generosity, and community connections, I went to see him in his office. I told him about our dream and asked if he had any suggestions of people who might be able to and interested in supporting our dream and helping us to sustain it, not just start it. We were going to call it Next Step Learning Center to help people do whatever the next step was for them. We had one gift of seed money from our community, the Sisters of the Holy Names, which was wonderful. But outside of that, we were on our own, building from scratch. I'll always remember Cornell's response after his many insightful questions. He said, "You ask each of these people for $5,000. And then he listed 4 people, one of whom was Neil McDaniel, Joanne Dale's father. Joanne, thank you. Thank you, Neil. He said, "You ask them for $5,000. I'll give you $5,000 if they do. I'll give it to you anyway, but don't tell them that." They did, and he did, over and over throughout their lives, including the Capitol campaign that created the beautiful building that is Next Steps Home in West Oakland. It was only years later that Cornell told Sister Rosemary and me, and Neil too, he was part of this, that they hadn't really thought we would be able to pull off this dream and do everything that would be required to sustain it. But they wanted to support our dream. I'm proud to report that Next Step is alive and well 27 plus years later, and we owe a good deal to Cornell and his compatriots. HNU students, that is exactly what Cornell Meyer wanted to do for you and for the many other students he has supported. He believed in you and your dreams and wanted to do whatever he could to help you make them come alive. He was also a believer in hard work, and I know he would appreciate what each one of you is doing to fulfill your dreams and become the leaders our world needs. I am quite sure he is looking down and smiling with great pride today. So, thank you, Cornell.
It is my privilege to share, thank you, Sister Cynthia. It is my privilege to share with you the reflections of Cornell's dear friend and colleague, Jim Vose. Jim is unable to be with us today, but wanted you to know this about Cornell. I am deeply grateful to Holy Names University for giving me the opportunity to say a few words about my dear friend and colleague. Cornell Meyer was not a large man physically, but a giant of a man in the impact he had on others, his family, his colleagues, and his community and society at large. A man of strong principles, he was an eminently successful corporate leader, steadfast in his sense of who he was, soft-spoken, modest, humble, and gracious to all. He never forgot where he came from, nor the compassion he learned from his mother. Her decision to move Cornell and his sister from South Dakota to California had a profound impact on him and the course of his life. So too did his service in the Air Force during World War II, flying 51 missions over occupied Europe as a gunner and bombardier. Cornell never thought of himself as a hero, but his service gave him opportunity to attend college under the GI Bill at UCLA and UC Berkeley. Upon graduation, he applied for a job at Kaiser Aluminum as an electrical engineer. As is often said, the rest is history. Regrettably, these last few years were a serious challenge for Cornell and for all of us who were observers of those last months, moved by the courage of a truly inspiring man. Thank you, Cornell, for allowing so many of us to share a part of your life. Finally, I would like to welcome Steve Board, chairperson of HNU's Board of Trustees, an alumnus from the class of 1968, to offer his own words about Cornell, along with a few words shared by Cornell's good friend, George Zimmer.
Thank you, Sister Carol, and it's class of 86. 68.
He even worked for me in the residence halls when I was here in '83.
Well, I know you all were saying, God, he graduated in 68. He looks so great. I hope you still feel that way. It's an honor for me to be part of this tribute. I consider Cornell a friend and a mentor. Before I share my own reflections, I do want to share a tribute from George Zimmer. George is also a friend and benefactor of the university, and he unfortunately could not be here today. Although Cornell is best known for his generosity to everything Oakland, including his beloved HNU, I knew him as a friend and as a World War II navigator. He flew over 50 missions out of Italy before returning to South Dakota, his boyhood home. My own father was also a navigator on B-24s, and I was a year younger than Cornell. Flew out of a different base in Italy and was shot down and captured on his 13th mission. They never met, but Cornell always treated me like he did everybody, as a member of his crew, and I thought of him as a second father. Rest in peace, Lieutenant Cornell C. Meyer. I also would often express gratitude to Cornell because my parents grew up on the island of Malta, which was a difficult place to be during World War II. And Cornell was one of the navigators who helped save them. So I personally have that connection to him. Cornell taught me so much. He was a values-based leader, and along with Cornell, and you've heard of Jim Vose, and Jim Kelly, and Neil McDaniel, they were my mentors. They taught me how to be values-based leaders, and they taught me how to raise money. No margin, no mission. So at the cornerstone of every great organization is its ability to raise funds, and they understood that. I don't know if everyone realizes what a giant he was in the business world. Kaiser Aluminum at one time was the largest employer in Oakland. They built the signature building, the former campus of Holy Names College, that curved building, beautiful curved building on the lake, 27 floors. It used to be the largest building in Oakland. I asked Cornell when he was CEO, how many floors did they occupy? They occupied the entire building. I worked in that building not for Kaiser Aluminum, but for a bank for 20 years, and I would run into Cornell all the time. Even in retirement, until very late in his life, he had an office in that building and went to work. And so I would run into him and say, let's have lunch. And he'd say, yeah, just fax me. Well, can I text you? He didn't have a cell phone. Fax me. And if you faxed him, you'd hear back from him. So the other thing I will say is everyone comments about what a gentle giant he was. He was a gentle giant until you got into an advancement pipeline meeting with him. And then it was not so gentle because he knew the importance of pipeline management and sales management and would hold your feet to the fire in terms of what you needed to do. So again, I count him as a friend and a mentor. I learned so much from him, and I miss him. Rest in peace. Thank you.
(1986). Thank you, Steve. And you don't look that old. As we close this portion of the program, I want to lift up before us the names of several other generous donors who have supported student scholarships over the years, who have died since our last scholarship luncheon. We remember and are most grateful for the lives and support of Ann Reynolds, Stephanie Enright, William Fagara, Margaret Fauché, Robert Thorup, and Helen Petrinos. Let us all raise a glass in toast and thanksgiving for these people, and especially today for Cornell Meyer. Hear, hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Carol. Whoops, I'm a little taller. Thank you, Sister Carol and Steve and Sister Cynthia, Jim Bose, and George Zimmer. This next piece of our program, I'm delighted to introduce the members of HNU Voices. It's our student choral ensemble on campus, many of whom are here with us today. Maybe you have one of those students at your table. They're led by adjunct lecturer Robert Lee, and they recorded a couple of performances, a couple of pieces, musical pieces for us today. And so I'd ask Yi Ching if they would play that first one now. Thank you so much for putting that effort forward. Thank you, Robert, and students. My next pleasure today is to introduce you to Michael Grainer, who came to HNU in July of 2016 as Vice President for Finance and Administration. He was named HNU's interim president in 2017 and then appointed HNU's 17th president by the Board of Trustees in March of 2019. Mike, Welcome to the podium.
Thank you, Mary. It is indeed a pleasure to welcome all of you to this very special annual luncheon, although it wasn't last year. Today's event is what we call a hybrid event. People are here in person and online. I must admit, I have been missing being able to visit and talk with you without the assistance of Zoom. And yet, I am grateful that video conferencing technology allows us to be together from afar. So, wherever you are from, welcome. We are here today to personally thank our friends and alumni who helped make it possible for HNU to provide more than $17 million a year in financial aid to our amazing and brilliant students. Many of you who are scholarship donors or members of the President's Circle or Legacy Society are alums of the university. Each day, in all that you do, you make us proud to say, we help educate you. Thank you for carrying on the spirit of holy names wherever life is taking you. Others of you are loyal friends. We are touched by your generosity and devotion to the faith-based education we can provide for many students who might not receive a college education were it not for your support. Each of you is so important to Holy Names University, and we thank and applaud you. I am so pleased that several of our HNU students, scholars, have joined us today. Over the course of the pandemic, our students have demonstrated their tenacity and determination to do whatever it takes to realize their dreams of a college education, an education that prepares them to be leaders and change makers in the world. Finally, I want to welcome our donors and students who are with us on Zoom. Where are they? Who are with us on Zoom. Excuse me. One of the upsides of the pandemic is that we have all learned how to stay in touch and work closely while being apart. Thank you, Zoomers, for being with us today. The past 2 years have indeed been challenging. At the beginning of the pandemic, we quickly transitioned to online classes and sent students, faculty, and staff home for what we thought would be a very short period of time, but COVID had other ideas and mutations. Over the course of the pandemic, I've been continually impressed and indeed thankful for our amazing faculty and staff and their ability to creatively adapt to seemingly constant change. Their dogged determination and commitment allowed us to keep our campus community safe while continuing to provide our students with a high-quality educational experience. Under the leadership of Vice President for Enrollment, Elizabeth Mihalopoulos, our admissions team learned how to successfully recruit students in a virtual environment. Under the leadership of Vice President for Student Affairs, Laura Linden, who's with the Zoomers today, our student affairs team worked diligently on retaining students in both the virtual and on-campus spaces. Thanks to these combined efforts, this past fall, our student body totaled 1,014, continuing a 5-year upward enrollment trend from a low of 866 students in the fall of 2016. We began this academic year by restructuring our academic programs under 3 schools rather than 4. Our schools of Education and Liberal Arts, Business and Applied Social Sciences, and Allied Health and Nursing helped to leverage our strongest academic programs for student success and give students the opportunity to take classes in each of the schools as they matriculate. Under the leadership of our interim provost and vice president for academic affairs, Dr. Kim Bowers, and our school deans, Drs. Kimberly Mayfield, Michael Graney Mulholland, and Pam Stanley, faculty continue to hone our academic course offerings to build career pathways for our students. Health-related majors of nursing, psychology, and kinesiology are the most popular with our undergraduate students, with business not far behind. Our students look for jobs and careers that will help to change lives and their communities. This year, we offered classes in a combination of online, in-person, and hybrid formats. This semester, 30% of our classes are in person. And next fall semester, we plan to return to in-person classes for a majority of our undergraduate courses. That said, we recognize that a number of our students need and want flexibility and want to see online and hybrid options in addition to fully in-person courses. Pandemic has allowed us to understand that we can do the latter two as well as the former, and it is to the benefit of many of our students. We are also looking forward to in-person commencement ceremonies for our 2022 graduate and undergraduate students with their families and friends in the Corrigan Courtyard on May 13th and 14th. Though last year's commencement was a lot of fun, it will be good to have everyone together again to celebrate our phenomenal graduates. The cost of a college degree continues to be one of the deciding factors for college-bound students today. I am proud to say that 100% of HNU's undergraduate students received some amount of financial aid. Much of that aid is possible because of the contributions of the many of you in this room. Donor-funded endowment scholarships have been awarded to 193 undergraduate students this year. Without that assistance, many of them would not be able to pursue their dreams of a college education. Thank you to those of you who have generously invested in an endowment scholarship fund at Holy Names University. There are others in this room who give annual gifts for student scholarships or where needs are the greatest for the university. And still others of you who have provided for HNU in your estate plans. Bless you, and thank you all. We couldn't provide the level of financial aid and student support that we do every year without your generosity and enduring belief in the power of an HNU education to change lives and create a better world. Thank you.
Thank you, President Grainer. It is now my absolute honor to introduce you to one of our student scholars. Vanson Lai is from Fremont, California. Oops, sorry about that. I'm not used to speaking live, so I'm moving my head. Vanson Lai is from Fremont, California. He's a senior at HNU, majoring in criminology, and will graduate in May. Vanson was a Cornell Myers Scholar and has also been the recipient of scholarship funds provided by the Fletcher Jones Foundation. Vanson, please join me at the podium.
Hi, my name is Vanson Lai, and I'm a senior here at HNU. Thinking back when I took my tour here, I remember loving the small community and the small classrooms. I'm a student that succeeds in a classroom that allows you to build a connection with your professor and other students. Looking back at certain moments during my time here, I think the best moment was getting a job at the library. I think it's the best moment because I got to feel independent and I didn't have to rely on my parents. After I graduate, I plan to get a job in security and becoming a graphic designer. This scholarship has allowed me to remain at HNU and find some close friends that I can call family. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanson. It's hard to speak in front of a crowd of people you don't know sometimes, so I appreciate your courage and your willingness to be with us and share a little bit about yourself in front of this whole group. We have another student to share with you today, and her name is Eden Tesfandrias. I had to practice that. Eden is, come on up, Eden. She's a brilliant student. She's from Pleasanton, California. She's been studying for her bachelor's in nursing and will graduate with her BSN in August of this year. She's a recipient of the Mona McDaniel Endowed Nursing Scholarship. Eden. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Eden Tesfandrias, and I'm a nursing student here at HNU. I started my journey here at HNU in 2019 as a pre-nursing student, and I'm proud to announce that I'm currently in my third semester here. During the fall semester of 2018, I was a senior in high school applying to universities, and one day I got a letter in the mail from a university called Holy Names. It was a letter inviting me to apply to the university, and it came with a physical paper application, and it even came with a stamp, so all I had to do was fill out the application and send it out. And so I did. I filled it out and went on with my other college applications. In the early spring semester, I started to get decisions from all the universities that I applied to, and the top school that I wanted to deferred me, which wasn't what I was really expecting, which meant I had to look seriously at the other options. I ended up booking 2 college tours, one of them being here at HNU. But first I went on the other tour, and I did not like the school, which made me nervous because I wondered if I was mentally blocking and stuck on the school that deferred me. But then I went on my tour here at HNU, and I got a completely different experience. I was told about the small class sizes, and I got to experience firsthand the family-like atmosphere here at HNU. It also didn't hurt that the school had the most beautiful view that I'd ever seen ever. And after my tour here, I knew that I was going to attend this university. And with that came a great sense of relief, and I was so secure in that decision that when the school that had originally deferred me emailed and was actually going to accept me, I practically ignored the email because I was already set in my decision here to attend HNU. I had a positive experience with my freshman year here, minus the pandemic hitting during the spring semester, but I ended up getting a job here on campus with Vanson, actually, at the Cushing Library, and it was a great experience. I got to meet the wonderful staff that work here at the Cushing Library, and I got to meet my other coworkers who provided me with a sense of community and people that I could talk to. I also got to experience firsthand the small class sizes, and I got to see how beneficial that was to my education and my learning. I felt comfortable asking questions in class. I actually felt engaged and connected with my professors and classmates. I felt comfortable to actually stay after for office hours, and even felt comfortable sending emails to my professors because I actually felt like my professors saw and knew me. But I was lucky because, Of course, when the pandemic hit, school was then turned to Zoom, But I was lucky because I still got to come in during the fall and the spring and got to work in the library, which allowed me to continue to feel that physical connection with the campus and the university, even though I was going to school through Zoom. As for my highlight of being here, as for my highlight of my time at HNU, I would say by far that would be being accepted into the nursing program. It was definitely my top moment. Being in the nursing program has taught me a lot about nursing-wise, of course, but also life-wise. I have seen how hard I can persevere and the importance of teamwork. My nursing cohort is very tight-knit and we're all very supportive of each other, which I think comes with the fact that we're also such a small group and we're in an accelerated, rigorous program that has caused us to turn towards each other instead of away from each other. I have gotten some really enlightening and unique clinical experiences as a result of attending HNU. I've gotten some, such as my community rotation that I'm currently in, where we are serving the West Oakland community. Being in this smaller program means that we're able to fit into spaces other larger programs aren't able to, which allows us to fit into these unique clinical experiences. The staff in this program are really dedicated to our learning and want us to succeed and make a difference in the communities that we choose to serve. This scholarship has supported me through this program financially, as I had to quit my job at the Cushing Library, unfortunately, but as a result, I was able to apply myself 100% into my learning here. As a nursing student, of course, we have tuition associated, but we also have a lot of indirect costs, such as scrubs, stethoscopes, bridge fees, parking fees, gas, etc. At the beginning of nursing school, I wasn't so sure where I specifically wanted to work, but I knew places I didn't want to work, but I didn't have a specialty in mind that piqued my interest. Now that I've grown as a person throughout the duration of this program, I have learned so far that I realize that I see myself working in the ICU, specifically in a neuro setting. Of course, if there is something I've learned about nursing, it is that things can always change. So of course, career-wise, I also have the ability to change, so I wouldn't be surprised if I somehow end up somewhere else, or if I choose to go to another specialty, because nursing allows me that luxury. One thing that I know for sure is that after nursing school, I hope to work within the Bay Area, as I have lived here all my life and know the community and want to serve this community. And lastly, before I close out this short speech, I would like to reiterate how grateful I am for this scholarship and the donors, because as I mentioned before, nursing school is not cheap, but in these already stressful times due to this never-ending pandemic, the scholarship has took off a couple weights off my shoulders. The program at HNU, as I mentioned before, is very rewarding, but is also extremely rigorous and time-consuming, as it is accelerated with no times for breaks. If I had to pick up a job while studying in this program, I can confidently say that my experience would have looked a lot different and potentially had more bumps along this journey. I would not have had the ability to take time for myself here and there to collect myself mentally, go to the gym, or spend times with friends and family, all of which have been the glue that has kept me grounded and energized to keep persevering in this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Eden. Eden, Vanson, and all of the students in the room with us today. We're coming out of a 2-year pandemic that has forever changed higher education in ways we don't yet fully appreciate. And I want you to know how much we all admire your courage, your perseverance, and your determination to do whatever it takes to complete your college education and pursue your dreams. You make us proud, and I know you will change the world. Before asking Sister Carol to close our time together with a prayer, I'd like to thank you all once again for your generosity and support of HNU, and most especially for your support of our students. We look forward to seeing you in the coming months. Hopefully this is not the last of our in-person events, so we look forward to seeing you in the future. You're going to get things in your mail, in your email, about our Give Day, our second annual Give Day that's happening April 7th and 8th. Please participate. We've sent out announcements about alumni awards. Please feel free to nominate some of your former classmates or people you know. Homecoming is going to happen in the fall at the end of September, October, and we're hoping there will be other opportunities in between now and then to get together. But I want to thank you all for coming and look forward to seeing you again. Sister Carol.
I promise you this is the last time you have to look at me. So, as we come to a close of this wonderful event, let us pray together. This is a line from Paul's letter to the Thessalonians. We give thanks to God always for you all, constantly remembering you in our prayers. Loving God, mindful of the abundance we have received from the hands of our friends and benefactors, we, the faculty, staff, and students of Holy Names University, are filled with joyful gratitude. Through the generous gifts of our benefactors, we are able to fulfill the mission of our education here. We give thanks for the countless blessings we have received, and we pray that you, our benefactors, enjoy great personal satisfaction in knowing that you are a partner in the university's future. In thanksgiving for the sacrifices and contributions offered by you on our behalf, we offer you our most precious gifts, our thanks and our prayers. May our loving God reward you abundantly for your generosity. We ask this in the holy names of Jesus and Mary. Amen. Continue talking if you would like. Thank you very much.